Okay, gents, ladies, all of my students, today is Thursday, June the 11th. This is the last lecture for this course, and I'm going to make some comments at the end about some things that have been going on this quarter. I haven't seen any of you guys in class for any of these weeks, and so we'll talk about that now. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the issues for this week. So let's share my screen. You won't be able to see it that way, so let me share it. There you go. Okay. So now you're seeing all this information here that you've seen the whole time. Our previous lectures are here, and then week 10 will be in here tonight. Before we do the announcement, I'm going to take a look at the course calendar so you can see. This is where we are. It is the 11th. And as you can see, that your written assignment, your initial post was due on Tuesday, your prediction, and then your reply post on Saturday, and then your written assignment dealing with the labor statistics, 1 to 2 pages. I'll show you that in the rubric. And then, of course, your key phrase and your ACAT. So I sent you each the ACAT instructions earlier this week. Then you notice the course ends the 19th. That is it. And I'm going to talk about week 11 assignments before I adjourn tonight. So let's go straight through to the course home again. And let's look at week 10 announcement. So in this week, the future of employment for criminal justice is being discussed. And module 10 is what we are doing tonight. This is the final lecture of the quarter. I'll provide information about the criminal justice assessment that will be due on next Friday. Okay, not to confuse it with the ACAT, and I'll talk about the difference between the two. Be sure to participate in the discussion assignment. Your prediction, as I said, initial post due Tuesday, reply post Saturday. Then your written assignment, research your personal job. Remember, using the Bureau of Labor Statistics for your job. And then the ACAT criminal justice test. And then you know what my motto is all about. Okay. Okay, so we're going to close that. And let's go right to the module and the assignments. So your personal job, I've always said from the beginning in this course that you were to try to focus on the career or the field in criminal justice that you desire to work in. And that's what you should be doing, researching your personal job. So you're doing a lot of research this quarter because the field reports are different. Remember I said about the field reports, if you couldn't find anybody to, hold on. If you couldn't find anybody, sorry about that sneeze, you couldn't find anybody to interview, which was okay because of the pandemic, then I told you be sure that you do research on the area that you intend on doing so. This week, you're going to research it relating to what the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and some about your salaries and future outlook for this week. And it is a 1 to 2 page paper, double space, and make sure that you have your cover page. And many of you mess up every time because I've said it all along, citations in the body and references at the end. And so you get 15 points for doing this. And then satisfying the 1 to 2 page minimum, double space, people, not single space, with a cover page, as you can see here, and APA formatted. You must have citations, not a citation, citations throughout the paper and references at the end. And of course, no use of Wikipedia here. And that's the written assignment that's due. Okay. So now let's go back. Your discussion assignment. We've already discussed your prediction as professionals. Now, the ACAT criminal justice test, a lot of students ask, how can they study for it? It's kind of hard. It's an assessment. And what it is designed to do is to determine how you've done since you have entered the program. A couple years ago, many of you came into the school, and so now you're about to go out and graduate with your associates, and hope many of you, I'll see you in the bachelor program. I teach classes in the bachelor program. Someone has already asked me about that. So I will see some of you there. And then, but this is what they call an area concentration achievement test. It is not given by the school. The school utilizes an independent agency to do this. And so what you're going to do is you're going to determine what you've learned in this period of time that you've been in the program. Now, this is different from the final, which is week 11. I will talk about that. The program assessment, which you take at the end of this course, will be graded by points, okay, and how well you do. This assessment will give you 30 points for just taking the test. And so you'll earn points just by taking the test and simply completing the test. That's how you get your 30 points. And then you'll let me know by the drop down box, and we'll give you your 30 points based on that. And you could take it, on your own computer, or you can, of course, with the campus situation being such as it is, most of us are limited there. I know here in Illinois, our campuses are closed and remain closed throughout the summer. I was just told today, so they're not going to be open. And then it said that I will supply you with additional details. I did. I emailed each of you earlier in the week your code to get in to take the test, and I also gave you a sheet that explains the process as well. I gave you some information in the email that I sent you, letting you know that I sent it, that if you had a technical problem, who you can reach out to for help. And so you need to check that out. So, and so it's very important. And when you finish the test, in the drop down box, the way you usually do assignments, say when and where you took the test and any feedback you want to share about the test, and so forth and so on. And that's the ACAT. Okay. The test, again, is an assessment. You will not get graded on it, but you will receive credit for taking the test, 30 points. All right. And then, of course, your live lecture phrase that I give you at the end of the today will be applicable as well. All right. So now let's talk about this. Let's talk about the future of justice studies. Um, and then this again gives you some more information about the ACAT. So anyway, what's happening in criminal justice? Well, there's a lot of stuff happening. Judging by what has been going on in the last few weeks, as you can uh, discover that there's some calls for modification, specifically dealing with the law enforcement aspects of it, stemming from what happened with George Floyd in Minnesota. And of course, all over the country. And you've been hearing the cries of defund the police. And really, what people should understand, what really is being asked, is not to abolish police. So don't look at it as a attempt to do away with law enforcement. What the plan is instead of spending more money on locking people up, but to provide services for people such as a mental health treatment, such as other social services, drug treatment, alcohol treatment. But the main two are the mental health and the drug treatment, because these are issues that adversely affect the community. Those of you who took my J250 drugs and crime know what I'm talking about concerning that. And also, you understand that as a law enforcement officer, your job is to serve and protect. And remember what I've already said. I says I produce criminal justice professionals from three perspectives: educated, professional, and ethical. And it is very, very, very important. So I think that what's happening here is because of what happened with um, George Floyd, and the blatant um, use of excessive force that no one has said is not the case. Excuse me, but have an agree. And so now the rallying cry is to do away with those kind of chokeholds, to do away with the excessive force, and to get better training for law enforcement. And that if there are people who are in the area of criminal justice and specifically law enforcement that just got in just so they can carry a gun, and they don't have their temper under control, they're not operating professionally, and then racism, sexism, but especially racism. As an African American male, I myself totally get it. I've been talking about for years and years and years. And so now the rallying cry is this needs to be fixed. Now, here's something that you need to be aware of. Now, yes, the majority of the debate is white police officers with black males as the biggest portion, but and females, um, dealing with Breonna Taylor and Sandra Bland and other individuals um, that I can't call off at the top of, my head right now. But anyway, the point of the matter is that there must be some parity. There must be professionalism, and individuals must understand that people are due to be respected regardless of what their status is. And so it is incumbent on um, criminal justice professionals as a whole to operate that way. You operate that way in the jails and the prisons. Most correction officers will tell you that they operate on the basis of 3 points: firm, fair, and consistent. And that's how you maintain your respect and control while doing your job. You have to make sure you don't violate those parameters. And so I don't, I think that actually what has taken place really ought to be looked at as an opportunity for you to not run away from criminal justice, but to get in and make an impact and change. I got a call this week from a former student who said to me that, and he lives in Minnesota. He said that he felt a voice was telling him to get into law enforcement, and I encouraged him to do that because my contribution is teaching from the perspective that I said. And so it's important for you to be aware that in the field of justice studies, there is the traditional positions of law enforcement on all levels: federal, state, local, county, and then there is probation uh, on various levels, parole, but probation on various levels dealing with juveniles or adults. And then there is corrections, of course, where you're dealing with individuals who have special needs, such as the elderly, such as the mental health issue, such as dealing with females, and now dealing also now with the LGBT as well, who are incarcerated as well. So you as a criminal justice or justice studies person have an opportunity to wear many hats. And I've already said all along that um, most people should realize that you are going to be a counselor. You're going to counsel people. You're going to be some kind of a psychologist and operating in this job. And so there are fields also in forensics. If you're getting into the scientific aspects of it, utilizing the technology, cameras, utilizing DNA as a means of conducting investigations. So there's many areas in the scientific area. The whole area of forensics is is really a big thing to be able to determine what's going on. We just saw in the news the other day that these two missing children, they were able to use forensics to discover human remains on the property of the father. So those are things that criminal justice individuals do. And in our time that we've had with this pandemic, in a situation like this, uh, first responders and law enforcement people are needed like never before. And so I'm going to tell you that as you do your research about the statistics on employment, there's going to, in the field of criminal justice, I'd like to see a 10-year from now and see how that goes. And remember, you guys are the future of criminal justice or justice studies, and that you can set the pace and be able to demonstrate those 3 points: the education that you receive, the professionalism that is expected, and then, of course, operating on an ethical fashion. Notice what's happening with the Minnesota police officers is that one police officer had his knee on the neck of George Floyd, and the other officers did nothing to stop him. In fact, there was one video that demonstrated that they held him down for a period. The man was in handcuffs. It was ridiculous. So there was nothing professional about it, and it actually put a real black mark on law enforcement. And so law enforcement now um, is going to have to probably humble um, themselves in order to be able to put this behind us. Um, More trust from the community. And right now, there are some real serious problems. The call for, quote, whatever law and order is, that's basically bashing, pushing, knocking people over, like that 70 something year 77 I think year old man that was clearly pushed by the police officers, and the officers sticking together to um, by boycotting or not coming to work. This is ridiculous because of the fact that it creates a schism between the community and law enforcement. So everything that needs to be done to correct that is what we are calling on, excuse me, um, criminal justice professionals of the future. So I will summarize this by saying that I believe there is a bright future, and it's and with this negative thing that has happened, and with the demonstration that has happened across the country, and listen to me, peaceful demonstrations, what I'm talking about. There are always forces that are put in to disrupt peaceful demonstrations for their own agendas. I don't know about Antifa, but I do know for a fact that there are individuals who have their own individual agendas and the purpose for that is to take away from the real issue, and that is that there must be reform in law enforcement, must be reform across the board in criminal justice. Absolutely essential and very important. And I believe that given the new breed of students that are coming out that we are teaching, to understand that will enhance the ability and set the pace for a bright future for criminal justice and justice studies. And so I'm going to just leave it with this particular point. What has happened is probably something, it's just something been going on for a long time, but now um, just one officer has brought it out into the open. We had Laquan McDonald here. We've had the Sandra Bland situation. We've had the Michael Brown and Ferguson situation. We've had Eric Garner. We've had Philando Castile. We've had Trayvon Martin and Breonna Taylor, and as I said earlier, Sandra Bland, and other. They're indigenous um, people who are also the subject of these kinds of things as well. So it's a real serious problem that we need to fix. We are not setting up a military state, people, because law enforcement, the mantra should be to serve and protect. Notice the serve comes first and then the protect. And it's very important. Procedures must be fixed. I don't like no knock um, warrants, because when officers do like what they did with Breonna Taylor, going to the wrong place, and then, you know, a person legally didn't not knowing what's going on, awakening in their house, use the right amount of force to protect the home, and it resulted in Breonna Taylor's death, not because of him, but because of what the police did. That no knock thing is, I know what it was designed for, but you have to be very careful. And I have already said before that in one of my previous classes that I teach is that when warrants are issued, you need to make sure that it's the right place that you're going to, um, because innocent people can get hurt or killed. So that's a professional issue that needs to be addressed and corrected. Uh, I saw there's a police officer in trouble in Chicago because during a demonstration, he gave his index finger as a symbol while he's in uniform in the car. That's not good. That's just like I used to tell all my students all the time. Be professional. Do not cuss, because when you cuss, you're not operating professionally. And so, again, I've kind of covered all 3 points. Um, the professions within criminal justice, within justice studies. You'll do the research on the statistics with your assignments done. But as I said, I would love to see um, what's going to happen in the next 10 years statistically um, by researching. And again, I don't discourage you, I encourage you to stay in criminal justice. Okay, and I've already given the outlook. All right, so now before we adjourn, I want to talk about what's coming up next week and the assignments that you have next week. So next week's assignments, of course, are due Friday. Friday, as I showed you on the calendar. And that's for your final report for your field report / research paper that you have had to complete. Now, if you look at the rubric, it tells you right here. It says, explain your experiences, requirements, and so forth. Um, meets the 2-page, must be at least 2 pages, double space, not 1 page like the previous ones, but 2 pages with citations, references, and you should have conducted the research and the sources in there, and you should always satisfy the APA. So that will be due on the 19th, which is Friday, okay, a week from tomorrow. All right. And then you're going to have one more thing after the discussion. You're going to do a wrap up about what you've ascertained from this course. Remember what I said from the beginning. This is like an independent studies course. And so it's designed to help you to begin to exit the program and maybe go to the next level to obtain a degree that's higher than an associate's. And so then the final assignment is the program assessment. So now this is actually an assessment for how prepared you are to receive your associate's degree. There are 100 questions that will cover the objectives of the courses that you've completed from the beginning, similar in fashion as the ACAT, except you will receive a score grade based upon this. So take your time and complete the exam for a grade that will be reflected in your overall score. And remember, this is an assessment of your learning, but it's different from the ACAT because in this instance, we are actually going to give you a grade based upon the 100 questions. All right. Now, this is administered by the school, and all I can tell you is that make sure that you follow the academic integrity policy when taking this test. It's due 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time on the 19th. Okay. So, with me having said all of that, um, again, I want to congratulate each and every one of you for completing uh, this course. And now you will be preparing for the next challenge. And like I said, you know what things need to be done. You know what your role is that you do. You don't want to get caught up in that code of silence thing. That's what now is getting people in trouble. If you see one of your colleagues doing something wrong, you have to speak up. You have to speak up to them first to try to stop them. And it that needs to take place on a regular basis, because now you could find yourself in a legal pickle and possibly being charged with accessory, as these officers were in Minnesota. These other three officers were with this officer that had his knee in the neck of George Floyd. So with that, I want to say to each of you, I hope you've learned something of value here. Many of you are interviewing for positions. If you do want to reach out to me for a referral, I'll do what I can to help you. Right now, my hands are kind of tied with being able to give written referrals on stationery because the campuses are closed. But I can help you with phone calls or anything else that you need. Um, so I've had individuals to call me for former students to ask me about them in terms of interviewing them and help some of them to get positions. So I'm here to be able to do that. And so with that, I'm going to wish you all the best. And I hope I see many of you in the next phase of the program in the Bachelor Completer program. And so I'm going to give you a key phrase. And the key phrase is very simple. ACAT. That's it. That's the phrase. ACAT. So with that, I'm going to say good night to each of you. Stay safe out there. Stay focused and continue to move forward as a criminal justice professional, not not embarrassing yourself or putting yourself in a bad predicament so that I see you on TV in a compromising position, but instead seeing you be rewarded for performing educated, professionally, and operating ethical in all instances. So I'm going to say good night.